I'm Bambi Francisco with this segment of Lessons for Entrepreneurs, and I'm speaking with Ken Sawyer. He's the founder of Saints Capital. Ken, thank you for joining me for this segment.
Thanks for having me.
So give us 3 pieces of advice to entrepreneurs that are struggling to build their business during this economic downturn.
The first thing I would say is over-communicate. I think in this period of time we have to recognize that customers, suppliers, employees, shareholders, venture capitalists, we're all want to learn more about what's going on. Communication can be really important in these tough times. And I think the fact that our suppliers often are struggling, our customers are certainly struggling, often our venture capital investors are struggling for exits, that the communication that a CEO and a company can do to its employee base, its investor base, its partner base is really, really important. Because I think with that communication, there's less of a chance of issues of evolving, of conflict, of difference of point of view, and keeping people aligned and communicating is super important in that period of time. And I think that's the first bit of advice that I would give in difficult periods of time to anyone. The second thing I might say, which may come contrary to much of the advice that's out on the internet and other places, is that to keep in mind in periods of time, yes, you have to play defense. You have to hunker down. You have to batten the hatches, or to use other metaphors that have been tried and true. But we often say play offense as well as defense. And I often give a sports analogy of hockey or soccer where there are a lot of shorthand goals that are scored in these things. It isn't necessarily that you're out playing offenses. You're back playing defense. But every now and then, as you're playing defense to guard your goal, there's an opportunity to score. And I think people need, and entrepreneurs need to realize that as much as it is important to also sort of play defense in these difficult economic times, is to look for those opportunities to take the ball or take the puck or whatever it is and give your company a chance to succeed and to win in a difficult environment. Can you steal a customer from someone in difficulty? Other types of things that there may be opportunities to do. And I think that's super important. And I think perhaps the last bit of advice as it relates to what should CEOs be thinking about is to take a look, importantly, at the sales process. And the sales process is one that's very difficult because there's a pipeline. And in managing that pipeline, often the things I say is, what's the critical path of that pipeline? Do you have 1 or 2 great sales guys? Can you get them 1 or 2 more meetings? What can you do to free up the most efficient or most constrained part of that sales process? And often a CEO will say, I need to add more salespeople. And one of the things we may say, are there other people that you could add that would free up your best salespeople? Can you get them out of writing proposals? Can you have other people write proposals for them? Can you put them in front of more customers? Can you provide more support to your best people in a period of time to make that sales process as efficient as possible in a different period of time? So those are sort of the 3 bits of advice I might give to a CEO in a difficult economic environment.
I like that. Over-communicate, play offense as well as defense, but really, really take advantage of this downturn to get certain deals or eat your competitors' lunch, so to speak, and support your sales staff, support your sales team. Question regarding VCs and their strategy. In your letter to your CEOs, you talked about the fact that equity risk premiums are 5 times higher than they typically are, and so VCs are struggling to get a return on the higher cost of capital. And so, but what strikes me as somewhat ironic is that because of this environment where everything is so risky for them, they need to get, huge home runs. They're swinging for the fences. They are executing on these high-risk deals at a time when they're not when they shouldn't be. So,
I think the key thing to understand for an entrepreneur is that every dollar is more precious in this environment, where access to bank debt is reduced and access to equity capital is reduced. When you have less money, the cost of that money is going to go up. And therefore, the return expectations that venture capitalists have are going to go up in a capital-constrained environment. And if you're a CEO and you need to go back and ask for more money, do your best to understand, is there money off the balance sheet you can get? Can you get money from your customers? Are there other ways to raise capital than purely from venture lenders, banks, and venture capital firms? Because that money will be dear and expensive, and it's more expensive now than it has been historically, because the returns we require as venture capitalists are in fact going up in this type of environment.
Right. So tough times, but good advice for entrepreneurs. Thanks, Ken. I've been speaking with Ken Sawyer. He's the founder of Saints Capital. I'm Bambi Francisco.